Afternoon. I'd like to welcome the school board members here today and Mr. Veracek. Also, we're having this community meeting with regards to the school enrollment at our K through 6 Net Lake Elementary School, along with our Head Start programs. But before we get started, I'd like to have our spiritual advisor, Mr. Gene Goodsky, give invocation. As was stated, this meeting, Miigwech, this meeting is, it was brought to the attention of the tribal council that the Net Lake School and the school board were having issues or are having issues with regards to enrollment numbers for the upcoming future years. And so when it was brought to the council level, we thought it might be a great idea to have both the school board and the tribal council together and have a community meeting to see of ways that we may be able to increase the enrollment numbers, ideas on what we can do to get people to come back, or ideas that the school board may have, that community members may have, with regards to how do we address this issue. If Mr. Veracek would be okay with maybe doing the presentation like you did at the RTC meeting with regards to the numbers in the future, and maybe introduce your school board members.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I first want to introduce our board members. We have Marilyn Gishik as a board member. We have Jane Villebrand as a board member. We have Missy Steele and Janice Connor, and Shane also as a board member. Missing is Melita Spears. And first of all, thank you for having this meeting. I didn't realize we'd get such a quick response, so I want to thank you for your quick response. What had happened is annually, of course, we do our budget, and our budget is built off of student enrollment. That's how we generate our revenue from the Department of Education. So as we prepare our budget annually, we're always looking at our enrollment numbers. And all districts have up and downs, valleys and hills, up and down. The only thing that concerned me a little bit is this going to be a trend moving forward? So I just wanted to bring the attention to the board, saying right now our numbers are down a little bit, but I'm concerned a couple of years down the road it could be even worse if more people don't come into the district, more students don't come into the district. Currently, let me just find my graph here. I didn't know I was going to present, so give me 1 second here. Maybe more than 1 second. In 2015, now we're just talking the Net Lake School. We're not talking the students that are tuitioned to Northwoods. We're just talking our pre-K, or not even pre-K, K-6 students. Head Start got their own numbers, and I don't know later if Christine was going to mention it or not. But in 2015, we had 87 students at the Net Lake School. In 2016, we had 72 students. 2017, we had 58 students. 2018, 55 students. 2019, 55 students. Currently, if our numbers stay true for the remainder of this year, we'll have 43 students. In 2021, if our numbers hold true, in other words, the ones 6th graders that are moving on to 7th grade and Head Start students coming in, we'll have 39 students if everything holds true. And then in 2022, with a large group of our current 5th graders that will be moving on, we'll be down to 30 students potentially in 2022. Now, of course, those are just estimates. A lot of things can happen between now and then. But I just wanted to have the discussion on the table with the board, saying this is what we're looking, not saying that it's going to come to be that way, but I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. And as I mentioned, we get about, if you look at all the tails that's tied to a student, we get about $10,000 per student. So any student that we lose, that's $10,000 out the door. And it isn't just money for teachers and stuff, it's for maintenance on the buildings and all these transportation and all these other tails that hang on to those students as well. So we lose money all the way across the board when we lose a student and when our enrollment drops. I don't know if there was more, Kathy, that you wanted me to
No, I
say
think
at
that's
this
pretty
time?
well.
And
I
I'll
think
answer any questions if I can. I didn't come prepared to.
Oh, good. I know that when we met briefly at the council meeting that, we feel that's a concern because we even have our Head Start program where we really don't have the numbers with Head Start. And, if we don't have the numbers, then Head Start will look at it and say we don't need the funding for that amount of students, and they'll cut us each year, and it's hard to get that funding back. Is that correct, Christine? Christine, can you do a little report on Head Start a little bit, just how your numbers have been going? Up here, dear?
Well, we've been struggling with enrollment since 2011. We've seen it, just a trend, like Mr. Veracek said, it's been going down. Right now, we have 5 3-year-olds and we have 5 4-year-olds in Nett Lake. Toddlers, we have 6 toddlers and 4 infants. So really, we're 10 short in Head Start for Nett Lake, and we are 4 short for early Head Start. And, you know, like Kathy was saying, when we don't fill these slots, then Office of Head Start says, well, then you guys don't need that much money. So we have been getting away so far since 2011, and we haven't had any of our funding decreased, but they are definitely looking at us. You know, what are we doing about it? How are we recruiting? So I think, you know, the information that we gather from this meeting today, I'm gonna have to share that with Office of Head Start so that they know that we're trying to be proactive to the situation. So it's kind of where I'm at right now with that. But it is definitely a problem.
Great, thank you,
If it wasn't
Christine.
for Vermillion, which we get a lot of our children from Tower and Sedan, and like on 169 there, going between the Y store and Virginia, if it wasn't for those children, we'd really be in trouble. So we definitely have some issues to figure out, huh?
Thank you, Christine. And I think the reason, one of the reasons, and Christine mentioned for the meeting, is for us to be proactive, look towards the future and see what we can do to increase the number of individuals and families that move to our area. We know that from a business standpoint, we need some type of economic development jobs to bring people back. Housing. We need to resolve the chemical use issue. We need, law enforcement. It's not just moving back and having the kids move here with the parents. There's all those other things on why do they want to move back here. We need to make it more attractive to young people or anybody that has a family to come and move back here. We need to market ourselves, I guess, in a way where we can get people back. We do have our Boys Fort housing program, and then there also is home ownership with the MCT home loan program, where tribal members can get home loans to purchase their homes. So there's those options there. We've discussed various options for we've been discussing apartment buildings for single people. Well, if we bring single people, that really doesn't help the enrollment issue with the Nett Lake School, but the main thing is economic development. The jobs here in Nett Lake are basically government jobs. Some construction jobs are seasonal jobs like logging and construction, and then like the C-store here in Nett Lake. Vermillion has a better site for themselves, where being 30 miles from Virginia, what have you, but for the Nett Lake side, it's really difficult because we know that our local towns are even losing a lot of businesses or a lot of their business structure due to lack of people moving to the area. So that's kind of for the community meeting. We'd like to hear some input from anybody with regards to what they think we may be able to do, some ideas that we haven't thought about, just any concerns that you may have with helping us address this enrollment issue. We don't want to lose our school. It's been here for many years, and we pride ourselves with our K through 6 school here. And our children are allowed to get that education, plus have the cultural aspect and language brought into it also. So we don't want to lose our school, but we need to come together as a community and as board members here to figure out what can we do to attract more people to our area, and also how do we do that. So I'll open the floor if anybody wants to come up and speak or talk. Please do so at this time and tell us what you want to say.
Well, I've been thinking about this issue for quite a while, because I know how it's going to affect the funding for our program for Head Start and Early Head Start. And I really believe one of the fastest, the quickest ways to help the enrollment problem would be really looking at the restructure of the Boys and Girls Club. I know Jenna's going to come and talk with you about some issues that are going on there and some ideas that she has. But I've heard from a few of our parents that send their children to Northwoods that they would send them to Net Lake if they had a stable Boys and Girls Club for their children to go to after school. And since we don't, then we're losing some of these kids to Northwoods. And as far as the drug and alcohol issue and cultural awareness that we continue to talk about, we need to get somebody in there at the Boys and Girls Club and really work with these kids on these issues. And I think, the band needs to, put some money towards hiring somebody to do this with the Boys and Girls Club. They need somebody just specifically in there, to work with these kids, because this is where it's gonna matter the most. This is where we gotta get them, is when they're younger. And so I would just say, really, I hope that, you guys really take this Boys and Girls Club really serious, because I really think this is one of our quickest ways to help the situation. I know that there's housing, and I know that there's jobs and the drugs, but if we can work with the kids about the drug problems, that's gonna help that start somewhere. And last time we were talking about a new moon in Net Lake. I think that would be also a really good thing for our community here. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
I know that, excuse me. I know that we don't have a lot of parents sitting in this room this afternoon, and I'm not sure why that is. But I think one of the things that maybe we should probably think about is putting a survey out to our community, especially to our parents and grandparents that have kids and grandkids going to the school, and ask them. And when we put the survey together, maybe we could word it so we could put points out of where we're at right now and where we want to be, and get that out, and then get that input from them, and then have them return that survey to back to us, so we can put their ideas down. And I know that Mr. Veracek, he read the numbers off, and maybe we can also have him, he explained that they get I think it's $10,000 per student, roughly in that area. Maybe you could explain where that funding does come from. But also, I know that there was a number of students over the years that were going to our elementary program here on the reservation, but somewhere down the line, some of them moved and they went on to Northwoods, and so what was happening was the parents were either having to get their kids to a bus by the 7 Mile corner to catch that bus into Northwoods, or otherwise they were taking them directly to Northwoods themselves. And I'm not sure what those numbers are. I off the top of my head, I can think about 4 or 5 of them are currently, and we should get the reason why those students, why they left our school to go to Northwoods. I know that one of the comments that I did hear from one parent was that the curriculum at Northwoods was a lot better than what was being taught up at the Nett Lake School. And so that just came from one parent. So like I said, I'm not sure what the reasoning behind those kids transferring to Northwoods, but maybe that's something that we could put in the survey. And I was kind of looking for some of your teachers are not here, and I'm not sure why they're not here. Maybe they could have shared their comments or inputs on some of the things that they may see or hear or whatever. But again, we'd like to keep our school here, because if we lose our school, I mean, we're going to lose a big part of our heart, I guess I want to say. And I went to that school when I was a young boy, and all my children went to that school, and I'd hate us to see us lose it. But again, there was another question I was thinking. I just lost my train of thought there. But again, we're here as a community, as community leaders, and we want to keep the school going. And I know that over the years too, that there was parents that did move back, but again, they moved off the reservation, back off. And but Kathy alluded to the housing programs that we have here, but she also alluded that the jobs that are here on this end of the reservation are governmental jobs. But again, we have a shuttle service that we have in place here, where we shuttle our employees that want to work at Fortune Bay, and all they had to do is just get up and catch that shuttle, no matter what time it leaves. I know the shuttle service goes 3 times a day, and we're really glad for that program. So that's less wear and tear on individuals' vehicles, but it's a way for them to get to work over at Fortune Bay. And we have a number of job opportunities over there, that positions that are open right now. And I'm not sure if, God, do you remember about 30, 40 positions that we have open over there? And so we can get those positions filled, and so the parents can like I said, go back and forth from here to Vermilion. And again, that's just another avenue that we have on this side of the reservation, where we could keep people employed and keep families living here on this end of the reservation. And because this is the main reservation, but again, we have 2 separate reservations, Vermilion and Boisfort. But again, I'd hate to see us lose our school, and I know that the school board and the superintendent are doing all they can to try to keep our enrollment open here, but we just gotta have our young people. Our young people are not having the kids that they used to have long years ago. I mean, I come from a family with there was 6 of us in my family growing up, and that was considered a small family when there was other families that had anywhere from 10 to 15 kids in their families. So like I said, my family was one of the smallest ones at the time. But right now you're seeing families that just have 1, 2, or 3 children, and they're not producing like the old people used to, and the rabbits, I guess so. But no, I want to. But anyway, I'm gonna turn it back over to. I know we have another young lady that has a question or a comment, but again, maybe after she gets done, maybe Mr. Verchek can kind of explain where the funding that they get for the Net Lake School comes from, so people understand that.
Jenny?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Dave for mentioning the shuttle bus that we have going from Net Lake over to Vermilion. And we kind of go through Cook, and so there's anyone who works anywhere along that corridor can go 3 times a day. But we also have just started a commuter route that starts in Vermilion and comes over to here. So kind of passes, you know, depending on what time of day or the days you work. So we are expanding for that. But I had 2 questions. The first question was, what is the threshold attendance before we have to shut down? See, when does the enrollment get to a certain level where it's just like, we're done? And the other thing was, the second question was, with the lines or the school districts, the way they're lined up, would we be able to expand our school district to include Orr in that area? And then, you know, bus kids in here, they'd rather go 20 miles than I'll go to Cook. It's almost the same, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the questions. First of all, it'd be up to school board to decide what's the viability of a district as we get to those numbers. I look back, and there's been times when we've been down to the 30s over the years. But granted, these are new times and stuff, so that's something that the board would have to decide when we become or don't become a viable district. As far as the boundaries of a school district, that's something that the county commissioners would have to do and have to have state approval on doing that. So it isn't even a group of people sitting together doing this. This is something that had to be done through the government, the way these boundaries are drawn up. And as far as I know, it doesn't happen very often unless a district dissolves, and then that's usually when it happens. I'm not aware of anyone just going to get lines changed, but don't get me wrong, it could happen. I'm just not aware of it. A couple of things I do want to mention about Dave's comments were open enrollment. The state of Minnesota allows open enrollment, and open enrollment means that a student and a family can choose any district that they want to attend, and there's certain things that can go along with that. That's not our issue. We don't have a lot of students. I'm only aware of 2 students out of our entire district that have open enrolled out. We actually have 3 students that have open enrolled into our district. So we're not a loser in open enrollment. Many districts, you'll hear that's the deal, that they're losing students because of open enrollment. That's not our case. What I'm seeing in many cases is the convenience of the parents. Let me give you an example. If one of the students has now moved on to Northwoods, and they're now in 7th grade, and they have a sibling that's at the Net Lake School, they're saying, well, gee, we can attend conferences on one day. We can attend a concert on one day instead of going to 2 different schools. So many times it's the convenience of the parents. And a lot of our parents are single parents struggling as it is. And being single parents trying to balance the 2 schools is a challenge in itself as well. So that's some of the issues. I did hear the comment as well about the Boys and Girls Club, and I know that we're working at trying to resolve those issues, but I did hear that comment as well, the inconsistency of the club. I've heard also the hours of the club, if there's a way that could be opened a little bit later, those types of things. I know these are things that all been on your table, and you guys are addressing that. To answer Dave's question as far as funding, what we do is we have a system in the state of Minnesota that all students are registered by their attendance, average daily membership, ADMs. So each student we get paid on the number of days a student is in our school. So if a student's here only half a year, we get half the money. If he's here he or she's here 3/4 year, we get 3/4 of the money. So we get, I'm gonna say, I think right now, and don't hold me to it, but it's about $7,000 is what each student is worth. But then when you add on transportation and capital and all those other things, by the time you're putting all those tails on, it comes to be around $10,000. Some kids are a little bit more value, some kids are a little bit less, but it's a real complicated formula. There's over 100 different variables in that formula to determine the final value of a student. So that's how our money is. But even though we need that revenue, that is not our only source of revenue. We get impact aid from the federal government, and that truly is what's keeping us afloat. I mean, 54 students, you go talk about the viability, you look at the size of our building there, and the maintenance on that building alone, the 54 students wouldn't even be enough to do that, so we need that impact aid as long as all the other things. But don't get me wrong, we still need that revenue to come in. But we get it by average daily membership, how many days a student is actually sitting in a chair in our building. That's how our money is calculated. And each student is weighted. Elementary students, we get less money for elementary students than we get for high school students. Just so everyone understands, we still have the high school students. They're still our students. Even though they're attending Northwood 7th through 12th grade, they're still our students. We still claim them through the Department of Education. We get their average daily membership. We get that revenue, but then we pay Northwood's tuition to have our students. So they get a good portion of it back to cover their costs. I hope that helped, Dave. I don't know if there's more. Okay, thank you.
You know, sitting on a tribal council, also sitting on the school board, you know, and seeing the school board and the tribal council come together and start trying to look for solutions to the problems that we're facing. You know, on one side and on the tribal government side, we can't afford to lose any grants. They're more important to us. On the flip side, on the school board side, we can't afford to lose any students because that's important to us as well. You know, how we are in need of each other. Because if we can't get the jobs here, we can't bring people back home to work. We can't send people, we can't increase our enrollment. Then if we end up, basically, if let's say our buses gas up at the store maybe 10 times a week. Now, okay, now the enrollment drops. Now we're only busing up 5 times a week. See how that's going to impact the store and the community. You know, so everything, you know, it's intermixed, if you will. And some of the problems that we have is housing. We know that. We know that we have a problem with housing because our wages are too high, and the threshold, they can't get in because the wage is too high. So then what? Then we're stuck. You know, and then we have, 2 years before enrollment really drops? I mean, what are we going to do? What can we do? And we have houses that need to be fixed up. We have these houses, you know, the meth houses. It's going to be expensive to fix. You know, and our budget right now is very tight.
One thing I would like to mention is I didn't, one of the notes I had here when Dave made his comments about our curriculum. Right now, currently, our students perform better than the Northwood students do in the elementary. So if you hear someone in the community say, gee, our kids aren't doing as well or not performing well, that's not true. Our students are outperforming most of our local school districts around us, so they are doing a nice job.
Mr. Veracek, do you know, in my estimation as a parent and having my kids in school, smaller class sizes to me were better than the larger class sizes, because you get more of that one-on-one with the teacher in case you need it, you know. The class sizes that Northwoods have, are they quite large? Do you know?
I'd say the few times that we've had the 6th grade come over, they're averaging probably between 25, about 25 students per classroom. So they have 2 sections, so they probably have 50 students in the 6th grade and so forth. So I would assume that's true all the way down. Okay. So yes, that is significantly higher than ours.
Okay, yep. Thank you. Mr. Veracek, do you, I know that the schools have these testing, tests that the schools take with regards to math, science, and where are they averaging out within the national average and whatever. Are those something that we could post in the Boys Fort News with how we compare with other schools, so we can make people aware that, yeah, our kids are rating higher than other schools? And
yeah, and it's all public information.
Okay.
So yeah, that's no problem. The department's website has every school district in the state, and you can compare them grade by grade. You know, you can look right at them. But no, that's something that's easy. I could get that information.
good, thank you.
I think maybe even if we could attach a link from that website you were just talking about, put it onto the tribal government website, so that way people. What would be the worst-case scenario if our enrollment drops below 20? What would be the worst-case scenario?
Well, you got to, first of all, figure out, are you going to be able to retain teachers if they're part-time teachers? Because there's a demand for teachers everywhere, so you have to wonder, yeah, are we going to have enough staff to run it? Those types of things. And then, do we provide enough of a curriculum for them? And that's always a tough call. I mean, it's something that the board would have to decide themselves, but when you start getting down to those low numbers, you're looking at, if you have 20 students, depending on their age, it's pretty hard to have a sixth grader in the class, and then maybe a third grader, and then a first grader in the classrooms, those types of things. It's hard to do that. Used to do it years ago, one-room schoolhouses, but to go back to something like that is not very viable nowadays. No, that wouldn't work.
Each year we have many costs. Now we have to buy another school bus. And that's, excuse me, that's like $90,000. And you can imagine what that has to come out of your budget. Also, that school is quite old and it's starting to deteriorate. We have many costs in fixing it up, the clinic part and Boys and Girls Club, that has to come out of. And even though we charge rent, it still don't cover the whole thing. Also, every year we have teachers, we have maintenance. Their wages go up. Plus and we're about the only school in the whole state that pays 80 to 90% of the teachers' health insurance. And that goes up every year, it never goes down. And the teachers have a union, so we have to abide by that. We don't go in with everything they do, but we're fair. So we need a lot of money to run that school. Buses. We're about the only school that buses their after-school activities. Northwoods don't. All the other schools, they don't have a bus that takes them home or nothing. They have to come and get their kids. So that's why we need all that money. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Excuse me, could I just clarify? I think Marion's a bit confused. I'm sorry, I didn't want to point that out, but I think you're a little confused. LIEC pays for the after-school extracurricular. We provide the drivers and the vehicle, but they pay the wage. I just want to make sure that's clear.
I just wanted to state how we spend our money.
Yeah.
I don't mean that we pay for every little cent.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't confuse anyone.
Okay, come on now.
We'll try and get along, okay?
We have our little spats, no.
I know that one thing that, what the previous council meeting there, what was put out there was a possible new moon project for Net Lake, but that's a few years out, you know, and I'd still like to see that happen, you know, and hopefully that, if it did happen, you know, it'll bring more kids back to our school, bring some families back home, and the other thing too is, you know, the jobs. That's the other thing too, is, you know, we gotta look at the jobs. What jobs do we have, and what kind of businesses can we create?
Darren?
One of the issues I've heard a lot is daycare. There's no daycare around here, so people, even if they did want to move back, like in the summertime and stuff when there's no school, there's a Boys and Girls Club, but they only allow, I think, 5 and up or 6 and up, something like that. So they have nowhere for their kids to go while they're working. So I don't know. I don't know if we could utilize the Boys and Girls Club. That's a huge area where you could have probably smaller kids. I don't know if it would be okay to use the Head Start rooms when there's no students, you know, for daycare, things like that. So, and then as I look around, there's nobody here. Why do you think there's nobody here from the community to come to this meeting?
Because they think that nothing will be done anyway.
Yeah. Well,
That's one of the
it's
big
3 o'clock
reasons.
too. A lot of people work till 4:30. That might be a problem. There's nobody here. There's 3 parents.
On that, we also did send out a thing that staff was excused to attend, so that, that's kind of covered that area.
So there might be another problem with that way.
It,
Yeah.
Charlie sent it out and it accidentally went to the old email, so it didn't come out until like 5 minutes ago. 'cause
And
there was
Mr.
a mix-up,
Verchek also
so-
pointed out, oh, that was a quick meeting. All of a sudden, you can have it real quick. So it's just kind of weird that no one's here. So also, I was wondering what your guys' ideas are. You're our leaders, our tribal council, and the school board. What are your ideas for getting more people enrolled? Do you guys have any? That's all.
Well, there's a lot of, you send out messages over the internet and everything, and nobody goes to the meeting because they're just not interested. You see a lot of parents and kids wandering around. Parents should be figuring out things that their kids can do, family things or something like that. Let's go over here, or take them out hunting or something, but kids are wandering around all the time. They're out late at night. We've had vandalism at the school. It's the older people that are doing it. Our kids usually aren't out that late. They usually aren't. But there's no place for them to go, so they just stay home and play games. That's all they do. The parents don't sit and visit and play cards with them or anything. So they don't know what to do. Also at Northwoods, I know that you can't hang around there. If you don't have sports or something to do at 3:30 or 4:30, you have to leave because they don't have people there to watch you. Custodians can't watch you, so you have to leave. So the kids, they don't have things for the kids to do. Thank you.
Just a couple comments, Darren, and I think what I'm trying to do at the school, and I think with the board support, is we try to hopefully be an inviting environment is number one. We try and keep the parents informed the best we can. We're trying to meet the needs of the individual students. I think the staff I have to give them a lot of praise. They really do care about our kids. They really do. They go the extra mile. They reach out. They do those types of things. We're trying to raise our test scores so we can say with pride that we're as good, if not better, than those around us. So we've been trying to get that message out as best we can at the school. That's all I got, Tara. Go ahead. You're up, Tara.
Tara?
Are you ready? No, just kidding. I have some thoughts on, did we try anything with ICWA? Because a lot of our families are, into meth and whatever other things, so they have to go off reservation. And a lot of them get to take their kids with them. And sometimes they don't return, for 2 years or whatever. And then if they do return, they go over to Vermilion because they have affordable housing there. So we don't have that here. Also, we should be heavily recruiting for our kids to not go off-res. We've got lots of family members here. Let's train our family members that are here that can take care of those kids if they get them taken away, instead of they going, taking off, or to another family member in Duluth or Virginia or the Falls or whatever, So trying to keep those kids where they live here instead of off. So I don't know if there's any numbers or facts or any questionnaires that you guys did, to find out how many are going off and how many are staying. And then the housing, we all know that that's been an issue, not just for a couple years. It's been for a long time. But now the meth houses that we have, I don't even know if this reservation has enough money to even rehab those homes at all. But there are a few homes that are empty that, Christine and I were just talking, she gave me this tip, that, sorry, Christine. There are homes that are empty, that have, that aren't meth, declared meth houses. So, and they should fix those up, Pumpkin's house is sitting vacant for I don't know how long. So it's not just that. I don't know, meth has crippled us and we can't seem to get out of it. And I don't know, that I think is one of the major causes of why we don't have workers here, why we don't have kids here, and why our housing is all messed up. There's other issues because we can't deal with, we're not managing our money great. We don't have a lot of skills, apparently. But we just gotta work on our own here first before we even try to advertise for other families to come over here. Because right now, the tribal government is not attractive to the outside person, I would say. I actually wanted to leave this place recently, looking for other jobs. So that's what's going on, and we need to deal with it.
Thank you, Tara.
Could I just say something? Tara brought up a good point. Other rural communities have used incentives to bring people back. In other words, rent-free for X number of months, or those types of things. Trying to bring people back with the understanding is you need to stay this long, and you can have this for free or at a reduced rate. That might be something that might be appealing to a young family if they could move back, if housing was available, at a reduced rate. Might be something worth looking into. I know they do that with professionals. For example,
Yep.
there's been actually communities that gotten together and send young kids to college as doctors, dentists, whatever it might be, as professionals, and saying, we'll pay your college, you guarantee you come back here for 5 years, and you work for us for 5 years, and now you're free and do what you need to do.
Mr. Veracek, when you mentioned some rural communities are doing some type of incentives to attract people back to their area, do you have some names for those communities?
I could get
Can
those
you
names
get
for
those
you.
for us
Yeah.
so we can contact them and
Sure.
see what some of that is? Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not the only reservation that has housing problems. I was talking to some old guy, he was talking to me, and he was asking me if we had new houses around. And so I told him, yeah, that we had a few, that we had a couple programs, and he was from a reservation, and he said that he was upset because his reservation had new houses, but they're having a problem getting new houses now because they're ruining them all. They're not taking care of them, and that's because of the drugs and the drinking, he said. And he was all pretty upset about it. In fact, he said his own daughter was one of the culprits that didn't take care of her house, and she got a brand new house. So actually we're not the only, but we still have time to fix it. And the major thing of that is drugs. We have got to get those drugs out of here. I'm a person that has never used drugs, and I don't like them. And I don't condone anybody that does, but I don't hang around people that do. I feel sorry for these people that do have to do this. But we have no programs here to help them at all. As soon as chemical dependency 430, they're done. They don't even care about anything else. So we need programs that will work. People that really want to help someone. Or the ones that are up there now, 430, that they're done. They're not even concerned about anything else. You can't even call them or nothing after. Thank you.
Christine?
Well, I've never lived up here, either Vermilion or Nett Lake, but I've worked up here like I feel like I have, because I love our community and I love our kids. So, what if we made some of our young leaders that I'm really proud of on the reservation, just to name a few: Squidge, Lance, Benner, Robbie. These are, some of our young, well, they're not so young, but they seem young. They're sober and they're not using drugs. And so I started thinking, how can we utilize the people that we have that love this community just as much as we do? So maybe we need to start putting our mouths are where, what they say, put your money where your mouth is. And maybe we need to, ask even our Boys Fort employees to do like a big brother or a big sister incentive. Not that they should be paid for it, but it's kind of like volunteering and bringing back that helping other people. I know that I would be more than willing to be a big sister to a girl that came from a drug house up here. So maybe we just need to brainstorm on, could we do something like that? And, maybe we'll see, how much, are the employees willing to invest in the problems that we have up here? Because, that's why we have jobs, is because of them. If they weren't here, we wouldn't have jobs. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Christine. I think Marilyn touched on it too. The family structure has changed so much since a lot of us older people are now older, where, in the past, moms used to stay at home and take care of the kids and have supper ready, and technology has come. The kids are more into technology than going outside and playing, hunting and fishing, and parents are too busy nowadays, it seems like, to even have the time to take with their children. There are those that still do that though, and kudos to them. And it just seems like there's not a lot of family structure or family events. We talked as a council about that we really don't see a lot of family events that we're putting on for families to get together and have fun and do things. And that we would like to see more family events happen. And I think we're having like a little family Halloween party coming this Thursday at 4 o'clock, 4:30.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow? Holy cow. Okay, well, that came fast. But anyway, tomorrow, where we can get together with people in the community and families and have them come in and do something here rather than either on your phones or watching TV or whatever, out and about. And so, we need to change that, and I think by having the big brother, big sister, maybe we could, some people even call it what do you call it, like a, kind of like a secret Santa, but like a secret friend type thing, where if you don't want to, where somebody can go to and write you a letter or whatever. There's a lot of things that we can do. We do have a lot of youth, I think, that need us, some of us, to help them. ICWA was mentioned. We have children that are in these homes that need a lot of support. And there are a lot, like Christine and even myself, I know, that would do that. And I'm sure there's many others out there. So I think if we can address the family change or structure and make it more of a community-wide. We've discussed sober living facilities. A lot of people don't want to come back to the same issues they have when they left with regards to the drugs and alcohol, because it's so easy to fall back into that realm. But we as a community need to take charge and say enough is enough, and just, we need to do it all together. The programs can't do it alone, we need to help them. And like the Sober Squad, for example, that started, this young boy, excuse me, Teresa, I'll get to you. This young boy in Mille Lacs came out of treatment and decided to start a Sober Squad. And he went to, he had many meetings set up, and he was the only one there for months. And finally he said somebody showed up. He'd still go, even though he knew people weren't gonna attend. And one showed up, then two showed up. Next thing you know, almost every reservation has a Sober Squad. These are young people that are taking charge and saying enough is enough. We want to help our people that are struggling, but we also want to help our communities, because our young people are our future, and that's what we need. So I think we as a community too can come together and come up with ideas or events that we can think of that we can have. Summertime is a big time when kids have a lot of time on their hands, and a lot of our programs need to structure around those summertime. When the kids don't have anything to do, that's when they seem to find something else to do, which may get them in trouble. I know that from being young. I remember, you know, so we need those programs and services and community members too to help out. Teresa.
Thank you. A lot of what I was thinking about saying you already addressed, and that's okay. I want to let everybody know that, yes, we do have housing available. We recently redid our waiting list, and there's like about 7 families on that waiting list right now. And about the only time that we get a big influx is when we're building new, new units. We do have housing available. We do have units available. We just need the ones that are interested in the housing to come and apply. So put in an application. We are working on putting housing and more houses back online. Yes, it's going to take time. It took time for it to get to where it's at, but we are addressing the issues. I am down in my maintenance department, but we are diligently working on getting that stock brought back into the community and available for families to live. So I really think that volunteer involvement and actually action and not words are going to get us to where we need to be. And I've noticed, a lot of, we tried that, it didn't work. We tried that, it didn't work. But like you said, that perseverance where we're going to be there. We are going to let you know that we are here and we want to make a change. I think after so much time that you hear it didn't work, well, it can work. You just have to persevere in the fixing the involvement issues. And, ever since my kids were small and in school across the board, how do we get the parents involved? How do we get them engaged in that learning process? Those are tough questions, and across the board, they're still looking for answers. And I think it's just one parent, 2 parents at a time. Let's look at the fact that this is about our future and our children's future. So, you can say that over and over and again, but I guess we just need to keep doing things and trying to get as many people as we can to volunteer. Housing, I do have units in both Nett Lake and Vermilion that are available. And I just need people that want to come in and put in applications, and we'll check their eligibility and things like that. So we're gaining ground there. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
one thing I was gonna say, earlier was that, you know, to look at our, kept bringing up math, and, look at our tribal codes and see what they say regarding math, and then, if we need to rewrite it or to strengthen it, if you will, especially the consequences for dealing with math or using math, that, to upgrade our tribal codes, make it stronger.
Yeah, for what Shane's talking about is that is being addressed currently. The tribal codes are being updated, and actually it's for the past 30 years. Any resolution that was passed by the tribal government that would go into the code has to be reviewed and looked at and then added to our existing tribal code. So we're also looking at sex trafficking, human trafficking, stalking, a lot of the newer crimes that are not even addressed, I believe, in a lot of codes. So we did get a grant to get that done, and I believe they were about halfway done. We haven't got an update recently, but we'll make sure we check on that, because it does have to, we do have to address the issue. The problem we have with regards to the meth issue here is access to treatment facilities. And we know that that's a huge issue, not just for Bois Forte, but for all the reservations and throughout the country. There just are not enough facilities. It's not like a alcohol treatment. It's more long-term, where it takes up to 6 months to a year, and then it may be even longer than that. So it's a whole new way to deal with things with regards to this meth addiction. And so, you know, there's a lot of factors, I think, that we're looking at with that, and because these people need help. And, you know, again, ICWA would probably come into play with, you know, the kids. So there's a lot of intertwining issues that affect one family. You're talking maybe removal, going with grandparents. There's a lot of grandparents taking care of grandchildren now. So it's a huge issue, but it has a lot of underlying factors that need to be addressed in it. So I think a big step with us is getting our codes up to date, like Shane mentioned. And then also, again, law enforcement. We are under the BIA. We're non-public law 280. And so we do rely on that. Bureau of Indian Affairs, police. We are working on trying to get our prisoners transported to a closer jail facility, so we have more officers on instead of going a whole day to transport one prisoner. So we're looking at those issues, but everything intertwines with everything. And so it is, but taking a look at the tribal codes, and the other thing we're looking at, and I know a presentation was done to the medical staff with a gal that's enrolled at, was she enrolled in White Earth, I believe? The pharmacist from Red Lake that did the presentation on a MATS program, and how that type of program might be able to help in lieu of treatment, where they receive daily counseling and help in a prescription manner. It's just in the talking stages right now. It was just presented to the clinic staff and whatever, but to access this program today, if people wanted to access it, they would have to travel to Duluth every day to get that help. And there's no way our people can do that up here when it's 100 miles round trip. You know, and so it's such an epidemic that is just overwhelming the whole society.
I don't know if
I know that Kathy brought up some good points there about the sober squad, and I know my son Squidge has started that program, and he started it a couple months ago. And when he first started, he was the only one sitting there, and then he said, last couple of times, he said there's been 1 or 2 guys showing up. No, he's still going. He's not going to give up. He said that he wants to continue to try help people, and I know that was part of his. I know when he got in trouble several years ago, and that was one of his goals in his sobriety statement, was that he was going to try to help as many people as he could to get on the right track, get away from alcoholism and drugs, and so that's what he's been promoting. But he also promotes another thing that he put in his statement, was that he wanted to help the youth and get them getting up and moving. And I know he's coached the Pee Wee and T-ball and Little League programs over the years, and he's also tried to help with the basketball. And right now he's helping with the young girls up at not only at Net Lake but over at Vermilion, trying to learn to play volleyball. And I went up there last week and I watched him when he was practicing with. There was 6 girls there, and he was teaching them. And I asked him, I said, how many girls over at Vermilion? And he said, there's about 4 or 5 of them. I said, maybe what you should do is just, try to get a little game between the girls from Net Lake and the girls from Vermilion. Maybe the girls from Net Lake could go to Vermilion and play, and then the girls from Vermilion can come over here and play. And just so they get to know each other. Because a lot of our band members that reside here at Net Lake, and a lot of them that reside at Vermilion, they don't know each other. And they're band members. And a lot of them, might be related. And I know when I was growing up, I used to, my parents used to go over there quite a bit and visit with Bob and Phyllis Bogie. And that's how I got to know a lot of those, the guys from over at Vermilion, was just going over there and visiting and getting to know them. And I got to know those guys over there. And so we had we always had a relationship. A lot of those guys have passed away now, but the thing is that we're all from the same place. We're all Boys Fort band members, and we have to get to know each other. And so that would be nice to know if, like I said, if we could intermingle with our Boys and Girls Club here and their Boys and Girls Club over there. And but I know that Trav has a basketball program that he's been running last few years, and I know that there's a lot of the young kids that just don't want to go out and play sports. And I know we talked about you have satellite TV now where you can get over almost close to 200 stations where you can watch anything you want to watch. And then you have the video games that they have, and iPads, iPods, whatever and then they can watch whatever they want to watch during the daytime when they get home. That's just because of technology. But that same technology that they're watching on their video or whatever, the only exercise they're getting is their thumb. And but I know that Squidge is really pushing to try to get the kids up and moving, and I know he's not going to give up. He's always going to be there, and I've always been proud of him, what he does with his life and what he's doing with his life, and I hope that he continues to keep on track and not give up, because if you can just help one person, that's a big plus. If you can help more than that, that's going to be better yet. But I know that he really pushes to try to get the students up here at Net Lake, especially here at Net Lake, to just get up and move. And I know that some of our programs, I'm really proud of our programs here on Net Lake. They have different 5K walk runs, and some of the nights there's a lot of people there. Then there's other times where we just have a small handful of people that are there, and so you got to get up and keep moving. But I know that Marilyn touched on the kids, and about learning how to hunt and fish and especially wild rice. And that's something, you know, that maybe that we can push for to like have a kids day where they, I know across the state of Minnesota where they have take a kid hunting. And that's something maybe we should do here. I know that in the springtime they have the 1854 comes up and they have a knitting class over at Vermilion where when it first started out there were just probably about maybe 10 or 15 kids that show up. Well, last year I guess they had close to 200 kids that were there. But they wanted to learn how to set a net, how to pick up a net, and then how to clean the net, and then once they got the fish out of the net, how to fillet them, and then also show them tips on how to cook. So we have programs out there that are out there to help, and they're trying. But no, we just gotta. That's something that we should push with our parents that have young kids to intermingle and to just come out and get up and move. And but getting back to what Marilyn was talking about, you know, some of the kids don't really have nothing to do at night, and that's true. I've been trying to walk every evening, and sometimes I get out after 6 o'clock when it's dark, and it's dark, and you don't hardly hear you don't hear no kids out at all. You don't hear no kids on bikes. You don't hear no kids, you know, laughing and screaming and having a good time. And you hardly see any cars riding around. I mean, sometimes I can walk. I walk from my house around the lake shore, up by the old fire hall, down, then up around the school, and then back home. Comes out to a little over 2.5 miles that I walk. But the only time you hear things is just when the dog barks at you when you're walking by someone's house, and so after it gets dark, I mean, our little village is really quiet. I mean, it's a really quiet little village, and but again, I know that we've had a lot of good issues brought up here today. A lot of good points have been brought up here today, and I hope that somebody's been taking notes, so we can get those down on paper, and so we can get some more dialogue going for a future meeting. And but I think that's one thing that I would like us to see come out of this is a survey done on for the people that couldn't make it today, and get their points of views and their interests in whatever, and so we can continue to move forward, and hopefully we can get interest where people will be taking interest of moving back to the reservation here and wanting to live here. And I know we just had a very good rice crop. I mean, this rice crop we had this past year was probably one of the best in the last probably 25, 30 years. And we hardly had a lot of people out there that really didn't go out ricing. A lot of people went out there for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 days maybe to just get their eating rice, and then we had people that were selling to the tribal council, and I know that we bought quite a bit rice, but again, there was a lot of rice that just went back into the lake for probably next year, and hopefully next year will be another good year for a rice crop. But again, we had very little interest of young kids that actually went out there and out in the lake to learn how to pole, learn how to paddle the boat, and learn how to knock. And of course, also they have to learn how to process the rice by parching. But again, that's something that we can work out. Them things can be met. We can work them out, and because we have enough people here to show them that art of parching and getting wild rice. And but again, I just wanna say that I'm glad the people that are here that showed up. I wanna thank the school board for being here, and Mr. Verchek for being here, and like I said, there's been some good points that were brought up here, and hopefully that we can continue this dialect and go down further down, and maybe next time we'll get the room filled, and like Chief said, we'll have some food and that'll bring them out. But thanks.
Tara?
I have a an idea. I was thinking just as I was sitting there, maybe we should, remember when you guys had, I don't know if that was previous administration here, but drug task force and those kinds of things? We need to probably, in order to make your job easier, you know, you guys don't have to, 5 of you don't have to implement it yourself. We could form some kind of a task force.
Yeah.
Somebody from school board, somebody from council, and then a few other community members to come up with ideas, track changes, how many houses are open. We get to look at, you know, we get to get the information to help housing figure out how to get, you know, to work on those houses. You know, everything. ICWA, I know that's probably pretty confidential, but like trying to help
Okay.
the families that somebody gets their kids taken away, to make sure that those families and the kids get to stay here instead of getting uprooted out of the Net Lake school system.
Yeah.
Keeping track of all kinds of stuff like that, because we're having meetings like this over and over and over about subjects, and we're just chasing our tail. So maybe forming a committee or a task force or something like that to be able to track it. And I just recruited Darren. He said, yeah, I would. So, you know, if you want me to do that and help you with that, I can.
Okay.
So I think that's the way to get it done, rather than the 5 of you trying to get something going like that.
I think that's a
So-
good idea, Tara. Thank you.
I think another good thing too is I know we talked about drug and alcohol abuse and how to correct that. And one good thing that we have going on here is we don't have a gang problem. I'm not sure about Vermillion how it is over there. I know at one time we did have a gang problem over there years ago, but right now that's one thing, good thing, that we don't have a gang problem with our youth, which would also be very, very detrimental to anything that we're trying to do for our youth. So that's one good thing. So
Darren?
Does the school have a parent committee, kind of like the Head Start has a parent committee that they get together and do fundraisers?
We have an Indian Ed committee.
Indian.
We have an Indian Education Committee, but you're talking like a PTA or a PTO? Is that what you're talking about, Parent Teacher Association, that type of thing?
Yeah, something like that. Like in Head Start, we all get together and we fundraise and come up with activities, give support to the Head Start. I think that would be good to get more parent involvement at the school.
Well, I know we do try and give our support to Head Start. When they're doing events, we'll help sponsor the food and those types of things, so we try and work in collaboration with them.
Yeah, but just to get the parents to come, like the parents could help with the drug problem. Maybe we could make a task force. And what kind of opportunities do they have to contribute to the school, the parents? Just the Indian Ed? And then there's a school board too you can be on, but.
Yeah, I mean, like opportunities to come into the classroom, you mean, and those types of things?
No, to give input, just like the Head Start. We get together, we find different teaching points we want to have. We have a family fun night we put on, things like that.
Well, we support those things to
I know
Head
you
Start.
support them, but the parents, do they get to help? Do they get to come, have a committee, talk about what's going on in the school, and then say, hey?
No, there hasn't been. No,
Nothing.
there is not. No.
That maybe that would be good. I don't know. We don't get too good of a turnout in Head Start, but
Worth a try.
you give them a chance, you know.
Yeah, worth a try, yes.
Thank you, Darren. Sidra?
So this is kind of choppy because this was brought up a little bit earlier, but I think it would be amiss to not mention anything. I think Christine had brought it up, but it was about the drug and alcohol issues that our youth are dealing with, and kind of in response to bringing someone on to the Boys and Girls Club to deal with that. And I'll probably say it till the day I die. But again, we have to be so cognizant of data collection. because I know that there have been opportunities for dollars that come available for youth prevention type things that we have talked with Boys and Girls Club about, or other, not only Boys and Girls Club as far as data collection, but to get money for activities such as that, but there's no data saying, we know that our people say, yep, there's an issue. Of course we have an issue, but there's no numbers that say, what are the numbers? How many of our kids are affected and how are they affected? Again, we can say, well, we know that little Johnny, little Johnny's parents have an issue, but what are our numbers? And so, we can say until we're blue in the face that we need the money to do it, but unless we have numbers and data backing it up, and that means, I just worked with someone this morning on a report that we didn't really have tick marks. I mean, just as much as keeping a notebook at your desk and taking tick marks. How many phone calls did I take today? And what were those phone calls in regards to? So we put together kind of a list of a chart that needs to be made to keep track of all these things for FY 2020, so that next year when we do the report, we have all that information. So reiterating again to the different programs how important it is to keep information. And that information that you have, Mr. Veracek, about the declining enrollment over the years, that's the kind of data that we need. How many kids are missing school because we know of because of alcohol and drug use? So that would be information that we could use, not necessarily that the kids are using, but
that affects their attendance.
That affects their attendance and affects their performance potentially. That's information that we could use in a Boys and Girls Club application. And also this would probably be a good time to mention the importance of the relationship between the tribal government, Boys and Girls Club, and the schools, and having those conversations and realizing, when we're putting together a funding application that will benefit the elementary school kids, such as a Boys and Girls Club application or the iLead application that Tat Romero is working under, how important having that good working relationship is and sharing information. When we ask the elementary school for that information, how important it is that we have that information to be able to, for you guys to share that data with us. And I don't know if, as a grants department and planning department, if we need to even think about us doing like signing confidentiality waivers or something like that, because oftentimes we do deal with some very confidential information, people's salaries and kids' attendance records, and when we're writing for mental health grants, how many people are being seen, and that kind of stuff. So that's not a bad thing to think about, actually, Jenna. But just kind of to reiterate the importance of a good relationship between us and you, because we do want to help, the school as well, if we can, on the government side. So.
Thank you,
think
Sidra.
that, that's good that we're the second time we're talking. But pretty soon we're going to need to start doing something, rather than being here a year from now still talking. We need action. We can't just say we're going to do something and not do it. We need action, period.
I guess it's kind of rugged when you think about things, but tribal council is current tribal council. We are trying to move ahead on different issues. Kathy had mentioned a few. I think Shane had brought up some. I realize, that people talk about housing being an issue. Right now, I know Teresa and her staff she's down about half of her staff is gone. They're not working. So there's other issues I realize. The cost of fixing up one of the meth houses is extreme. We've got a house just right up the road here that I went out and found somebody to bid on it to fix the wall. The wall's caving in. It's unsafe for people to live in. It'll come in at $6,400 or something. Housing don't have that in the budget for $6,400 to fix that wall. So it's gonna sit there until whenever we can get the money. There's, we are currently on the Fortune Bay and the government side here, we have about 60 job openings. That's not, I mean, that's not good. You know, that's 60 people we could put to work. You know, that's a struggle. I think somebody had mentioned right now we're at 100% of our workforce, which is pretty good, considering 100% of our workforce. People that want to work are working. You know, that's not bad. You know, we have to look at other options now for getting other people to come in, you know, to work for us. So we're in a bad spot. You know, it hurts sometimes when I drive around and I'm out and about and I see people and I see kids that are hungry because their parents choose to use rather than take care of the kids. That hurts. That goes back to what someone had mentioned about our kids being removed, taken off, put in somewhere else. That's part of it. You know, it's a whole big pot of things that we have to look at. And it's really tough to start picking and choosing and saying, okay, this is what we got to do first. You know, the previous council had raised their pay grade up, minimum wage to 10 something an hour, which was really bad. not in a bad way. It was really bad because it hurt the people that were trying to get these houses, because when it put it, you know, there's a, Teresa was here, she could explain this better. There's a gap in there that they got to fall in between in order to get the house. Well, when we raised their rates, it shot them over the top of that gap. So they can't get the house, you know, and it's really tough because we are trying to pry that gap a little more so that people have a better chance of getting in these houses. You know, it's tough. You know, if you try to fix one thing and then you break another thing, try to fix it. You know, there's a lot to look at, and it's really hard sometimes. You think about things. You know, that's just one little example.
Go ahead, dear.
Okay, I've started my master's degree. That's nothing about me, but any type of program that you want to effectively begin is exactly necessary to have a survey or questionnaire sent out to the people that would be involved, asking them, number one, what do you feel our greatest concerns are? What can you do here? What do you suggest others do? Would you be available for time being spent in a task force? Did any of you receive, or am I the only person that received a letter, a research request involvement letter? And then it was a University of Minnesota outreach program. They needed a questionnaire that involved the area. They were coming out of Minneapolis from the Twin Cities. It wasn't from Duluth. And they asked the questionnaire be filled out, and upon your return, when they received it, they would be mailing out a $10 gift certificate to Super One it was. All right, I filled out the questionnaire for $10. I may have done it for nothing, but for sure I did it for that. It just felt like quid pro quo. When you're in college, you give the students that work on the questionnaires large candy bars. There's a difference there. Anyway, when we're talking about the survey and questionnaire, Yes, that needs to be done before, that's your database for where you're going here in all these different directions. And the survey can tap on each of those and touch them, so to speak, to get some input that's not just here. That's it.
Thank you.
I think, kind of going off what you just said about questionnaires, is maybe we could present something at the State of the Band. You know, put a survey out there for the band members to fill out. You know, what would make you want to move back home to Boys Fort, to Net Lake, something along that line. Just a thought.
I think a good start is what Dave mentioned with the questionnaire and survey. And maybe if we'll get together with the Net Lake School Board, and we'll get together with our planning people, and we'll draft up a survey questionnaire for the community and start there. I think there were really good ideas tonight. The drug task force was a nice one. The Big Sister, Big Brother program. I think there's a lot we can do, and Squidge doing the Sober Squad. We need to start. We need to start, and we need to do action instead of talking. And so I think this is a beginning, and I really want to thank everybody in the school board and Mr. Veracek for attending. And this is on live. We did put this on live stream on Facebook, so for those that couldn't attend, maybe. We will have a follow-up meeting, though, I think, more geared towards like supper time. It will, food does bring out good food and people. So I'm sure we can get a community meeting again, and we'll go from there and get it done soon. But the start is a survey and questionnaire, I think.
I think that, on the other side too, with the school, is what we could be doing is looking at how can we promote the school more? Aside from having a small class sizes, to the sports that they have there. Travis, he does sports. Him and Brandon, they do football and basketball. They also have that's for the sports there. And then how can we market it better?
Yeah, great. Well, make which, Dave? You say something?
Yeah, I know that Marilyn brought that up about the bus run for the kids from Net Lake that play sports, and that's always been in place. I remember when I was in high school years ago, but I remember that bus run used to come and pick us guys up, and that really made it easier for us to play sports, and for us to get a ride back home, because back then, didn't really have, our parents didn't have dependable cars, and now, we have good paying jobs for the government, and a lot of these young families now have very good. When they go get a car, they go out and buy a brand new one, and I'm really proud of that, because when they have a dependable car to get them from point A to point B, wherever they may be going, and not worrying about it breaking down. Because I remember when I was just a boy, and sometimes I'd go to town with my mom and dad, and we'd break down, and somebody would have to come pick us up, or else try to get it going right there and to get home. And but that's the way it was back a long time ago. When our parents bought a car, they bought a second or third hand used car, and that's how we got around. But now we have we see our families that are riding around really nice cars, and I'm really proud of that. And I really proud of the school that they provide that transportation for our young kids, and a lot of those kids now are grandkids. And so that's just a way for them to participate in sports. And we have a really good sport program that we had at our school, and now it's starting to show at the Northwoods school, because I remember a lot of the people said that Cook couldn't win without Orr. So, but that meant the kids from Net Lake and Orr. So, but No, that's what, I'm really proud of that, so I just want to thank you guys for that transportation program.
And I'd just like to say thanks to everyone to come out. I know there wasn't a very big turnout, but we got some great ideas, and we're gonna start working on some stuff. And when we do the survey, we're gonna get even more ideas out of it, and we want to make our community better. You know, it kind of like in the big picture is we're losing kids in enrollment because of our community is having a hard time, whether it be drugs and jobs and stuff like that. That's something we can all work on together, and that's what we got to do now as a community, come together and make things better. Thanks for requesting a meeting, school board.
Is this on? I like the idea of the survey too, and I was just thinking when Kathy said something about giving $10 or whatever, but what I thought would be a good idea was when they have the state of the band, there's one that like you go to this table and if they say if you fill out a survey, you can have your name put in a drawing and then just have one like a big, I don't know, whatever. Then that way you're not having to hand out gift certificates or whatever, so. You're welcome.
So Jenna, you're going to be moving over to Net Lake here with your two boys? No, I'm kidding you.
Miigwech, everybody, for coming. Have a good night. Thank you.